side, the business side. It's wide open, but some people just don't know that, oh, I can do that over here in games.
So with that being said, I know I recently had Jesse Jackson on Tech This Out News, and he noted that not much had changed in terms of diversity in Silicon Valley over the past 5 years. How much has changed in the gaming world in your assessment?
Oh, man. I mean, I got to agree with the Reverend. It's very little, man. The same people I saw when I was trying to get in this industry, it hasn't changed very much. It's very little movement. So there's still a lot of more work to be done.
Okay, understood. You're one of the very few black gamers in the game. So how did Console Kings, how did you all get into the game?
As far as black-owned gaming companies, it's very few of us. But I kind of, to be really frank, I bogarted my win.
I like that. I like that a lot.
How I did it.
I like that a lot. Where's no door, you create a door.
I'm a hip-hop dude, so I took the hip-hop route.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Break down the doors, go everywhere, tell people about my product. I went to, basically, man, I started working my network. I went to E3 is like the biggest gaming convention, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out. So I went to that like 3 years in a row, followed by going to CES 3 years in a row, like back to back to back to back to back. And then those are two big places that a lot of every entertainment or tech industry are at. So people start seeing my face more and more and more and more. And then I hooked up with David Banner's on my homeboys. He was doing TJ's DJs 1 year. I know you're probably familiar with TJ's DJs.
Yeah.
So TJ had this thing that he was doing. We went to that. Me networking. I come from a networking background. They teach you how to network when you are in engineering school. So they like, hey, anybody you got to go meet, shake hands. So TJ was there. I started talking to TJ. I was like, yo, this is what I do. He's like, yeah. He said, my cousin work at over there at Microsoft. He do some game stuff. You need to holler at him.
Mm.
And his cousin was Mark West, and he opened the door, and he was like, hey, I'm going to open the door. You got to jump through it and, do what you need to do. I was like, that's all I need, brother.
That's what's up. Solid, man. Love it. Love your story, man. What hurdles did you run into in aligning yourself with Xbox?
Man, it was two hurdles. One I knew about, and the other one I didn't know about. The first hurdle was kind of what piggybacking what I just said is I just said, hey, when Xbox said, yo, we're going to update our service, we're going to put video on it, I had already gone down a path. When all the hip-hop DVDs were coming out, I was like, well, I ain't going to make that. I'm going to make a gaming DVD. And then I went on that path and just started making my own gaming DVD. Was going to take the traditional path of putting it on the shelf that sit next to the magazines, but you would buy it like a magazine, but it was a DVD. Did the packaging, did all that stuff. And then when I was about to try to get a deal to put it out, Xbox said, hey, we're going to put video on our platform. And I was like, man, forget making a DVD. I'm going to put my content on the Xbox. So once I made that statement and verbalized it, the powers of above and that be, and God put it all together. And then everything just started falling in line once I had a clear purpose and definition of what I wanted to do. I know you always hear that a lot when people talk about how they got started, but it's true. It's cliche, but it's very true. You put it out there and you laser beam focus on it. And that was the first hurdle, actually how to get on Xbox. That's when I started going to all those conventions. The second hurdle was once I got through the Xbox door, they was like, hey, before we can sign this, you got to be able to shoot, produce, edit HD content. This was like in 2007 when HD had just came out. I was like, what? I got to do all that? I was like, man, how am I going to do all that? So luckily I had some funding from Visa, and then I was able to get me a HD camera, like a Panasonic, like the first one that you can get as a consumer that was almost pro level. And I, maxed out my credit cards. It's not the way to go for everybody, but some people have this story. You max out that credit card to float you to get you where you need to get. And once I showed them that I could do this, they was like, okay, you can put content out here and do this and do that and do that. And that's what opened the door.
Wow. That's very, very dope, man. Now, I know Chameleonaire, I want to say the artist formerly known as Chameleonaire, he's transitioned into so many things. He's been a pioneer as one of the first rappers to embrace gaming. Now, do you know what he's up to these days? And have any other artists, I mean, obviously you mentioned David Banner, but have any other artists jumped into the gaming world?
Chameleonaire, yeah, he was the first person that, outwardly, was like one of those smart rappers, still from the street at the edge, but, he wasn't ashamed about that that he was up on technology. From last I heard, he actually invested in a YouTube studio that got bought by Disney or something like that. So now he's on the whole – I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years that he becomes a VC, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he has his own VC firm in a couple of years. But outside of him, I don't know too many entertainers that are actually creating a game studio. If y'all out there listening, holler at me. I got some input for you. But I don't know any directly. I know a couple of NBA guys that are dibbling and dabbling with VC and funding tech. For instance, I know my man JaVale McGee. I said my boy hooked me up with him. I took him to E3 and showed him around. He was like, yeah, I'm making a game. I was like, you really making a game? And he said, yeah, look, I got a layout. I got a document. I got a plan. Like, he actually really was going through dissecting this game to make his version of a game. So I was like, okay, you really doing it. But, yeah, not as much as they need to be. I think as much as we are featured in games or in games, we need to be pooling those resources and actually having funding some of these guys like me that are out here making games independently. Yeah, I think it needs to happen more.
Very dope. Now, let me ask you this. Do you find that games can be stereotypical or sexist in its portrayal of blacks, Latinos, and women?
Just as much as Hollywood and the news.
I feel like in gaming, it seems like there's even more flexibility to be even more crass and stereotypical in the gaming world than in film and television.
You're right. Because
I mean,
it can be because it's a bunch of subcultures inside gaming.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, you watch Grand Theft Auto, they talking all types of reckless craziness. And I'm like, damn.
So I'm glad you said that. Grand Theft, though, they do it, but they do it in a way that they do it with research, right? Some people just do it with straight stereotypes. They actually go in. That's why it takes them so long to make a darn game. Like, they go in and really spend the time to get it right. If they're going to stereotype somebody, they're going to get it right all the way down to the finest nuance. So, to me, they get a pass because they do their research. And those guys behind it are former music guys, too. So, they kind of can get away with it. Everybody else kind of like, they can't get away with it so much.
Got you. Understood. Now, some may argue that racial diversity is more important in video games than in TV or film, and that's why I brought that up, too. Because I feel
you're right. You're right, because you live with those characters. Unlike film and, TV, audio and video, but when you're in interactive space, you actually, part of you kind of becomes that character, and part of that character gets kind of rubbed off on you, makes you think a different way. So, yeah, it is a deeper experience when you're choosing the fate, or so-called fate, of a player going down different paths and actions and things like that.
I'm glad you brought that up, CJ, because it brings me to another question that I was pondering as far as, like, when you talk about, like, Call of Duty. I found that we've had so many real-life killings with weapons. And it seems like the virtual world is a portal into the real world. And a lot of people, do you find, because, and I say this because they talked about hip-hop, they wanted to blame everything else, but one of the most fluid forms is the visual medium. So film, television, and now video games. How much of an impact have video games had in our real world? Because there's definitely a different connection that individuals have with the characters in these games.
Yeah, you're right. It is a different connection in there. But I still can't put it on video games just like the media tries to put it on Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator, make people go shoot up a whole airport. It's like, no, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that way they're trying to say, or like, gangster music is making everybody be gangsters. Like, nah, I think it's in the same boat with those things. Since this is a major entertainment form, it's going to get scapegoated and blamed for a lot of stuff. Just like with the music, like, if it's a weak-minded person and they really want to do something, they're going to be like, yeah, Ice-T, cop killer made me do this. No, it didn't. But, you know what I'm saying? But it may have maybe give you some self-empowerment, but it didn't do it.
Right. Got you. So I know there's also a big movement, with black kids coding, STEM learning. Is coding important in this world for you, or as you see it, to anybody wanting to get into this world, or is there something else they should be focused on as it relates to the gaming industry?
No. I mean, honestly, man, I think coding, some form of coding or knowledge of how coding works and that concept and that analytical way of thinking is going to be good for anybody going forward in life from 2017 and beyond, because that's the world we headed in, right? If you want to truly understand Instagram and your social media, you're going to have to think analytically. You got to understand, if I post at this time of night, this is going to happen because that happened. Same thing with gaming, man. If you really want to transition from playing games to making games, and it is a difference. Just because you play a lot of games don't mean you can make some games. There's a difference. But coding, if you want to really make games like hands-on and get your hands dirty, yes, you need to start with some coding, some scripting, and then go step up from there. But a lot of the best coders, man, they code on their own. They're self-taught. Like a lot of these genius coders, a lot of these guys are self-taught because they spent, you know how they say, if you spend 10,000 hours doing something, you become a pro, right? So that's what they've done. At night, they're picking up a book. I'm going to try to make a game. I'm going to make the simple thing. I think that coding, that works. On the flip side of that, that'll help you make a game. But to have more impact than that, we as people, black and brown, need to start publishing more games. Just like in the music, the power is in who's publishing it, right? So if you independently publishing, or if you go into, or you're forming a company in publishing, we need to have more publishing so we can hire our own coders to publish our own content. That way we segue into getting out our own voices and messages and imaging.
Is it difficult to get into the publishing side?
For a game, no. You can make a game and put it out. I, myself, I'm independent, straight up. Like, I made my own game. I submitted it to Apple, submitted it to Google. It got approved. Now it's in the stores. And then I got contracts with Xbox and PlayStation. I can potentially make games on those platforms. So it is not hard. If you have a good game, it's going to rise, right? It's going to get some traction. The money is just going to become for marketing. But it's not. It's like a yes or no question. Yes, it's like an independent artist, right? Is it easy to make a record? Yeah, you go in the studio, make a record, put it out. Now, to get everybody to hear it, then it becomes, you got to get some marketing going on. You got to get your PR going on. So it's the same way with games. There are platforms for independent developers. And once you feel like you've dominated that space, then you got to go to the next level. And you can get independent deals with Xbox. They have programs for that. And then once you get real hot, then everybody's going to come and try to scoop you up, right? It's the same way. It happens in the game industry the same way.
Now, tell me this. Why is it important that the gaming industry broaden its representation of African Americans? I know, obviously, black kids aren't seeing African American engineers, doctors, just positions that, exude a certain level of respect and whatnot, in video games. And, I know that, this has an impact in this industry. So how do you see that impact? What do you see that impact as being with the lack of representation?
Man, for the industry, any industry that's big, it's going to come down to you only get their attention when it hurt their pockets, right? So black and brown people in general over-index in buying games and playing games and purchasing games. So if they want to keep that happening, they're going to have to make some changes inside and out. That's what, or those black and brown people are going to go somewhere else to get their interactive entertainment. And I know for sure they're going to want them to keep getting them in the same place. It's the same reason why all the grocery stores now all of a sudden have healthy options, right? A couple of years ago, grocery stores weren't caring about having healthy options. But Whole Foods came up on the scene, told everybody to start eating healthy and buying healthy. Now all the grocery stores got healthy options too. So it's the same. I think it's the same thing. If you want to keep your customer, you got to give them what they're asking for. And right now, the customers are on the rise, asking for people and stories that look like them authentically.